Well, actually, this time it's very fast. And back in 2016, Park Geun-hye's impeachment case lasted around an hour and 7 minutes. We could tell that this time that could be shortened within an hour. So after all these casting accounts, vote account, we talk about the a final result. Actually, will not immediately stop that President Yoon Suk-yeol's official the powers, and that the vote will be immediately sent to the Affairs Committee of the National Assembly back to the 2016 when the results of the impeachment case of Park Geun-hye. So that's around 3 hours later. Actually, the a president's power actually immediately suspended. So we talk about that before that 3 hours, and Park Geun-hye also convened the last state councilors meeting in the Blue House. So we talk about the results of this impeachment case were first sent to the Legislative Affairs Committee of the National Assembly. And yesterday evening to this morning, on the we heard information that the President Yoon will make another speech to his supporters, and we talk about that more than tens of thousands of people, according to official number, that could be million people gathered at the Gwanghwamun area of the urban spaces. And also according to statistics of the organizer of Gwanghwamun gathered talk about that tens of thousands of people gathered here and to support Yoon's opposition. And we talk about in South Korea, there always be some voices they criticize about corruption, about election fraud. So some people buy in and these voices, and they talk about that it's believed that the opposition parties have gained a majority in the election, and also President Moon on December 12th also spent quite some time talk about that the issues of the a central election management commission, but the electoral management commission actually talk about why they set up the password as 12345. They talk about it's just for official work, so it's not for counting system. So for the homework, the society in Korea, there always been some voices around that election fraud. And according to right now the a counting, they first need to count that the a name tag. So it seems like 300 MPs voted. So that's the first process. And then they reported to the Speaker of the National Assembly. And right now it's confirmed that 300 MPs have voted. So that's the first box. And then they will right now counting the vote. Counting the vote now begins. So for the first stage, it's around 3 minutes to finish the first step. So that's to count the name tag. So there are actually the two boxes. So they need to first count the first boxes. So for the first box, as the name tag. So they need to check how many that the MPs voted. Right now it shows that all MPs, 300 MPs, all voted. So on the evening of December 3rd, the after the sudden announcement of the martial law, 11 days later, and there's the second vote on impeachment. We talk about that 11 days for the Korean people, ROK people. It's really long 11 days. And in the ROK, in the South Korean society, you could really tell that the big separations exist. And also, we talk about every evening outside the National Assembly, people gather there and shout their slogans calling for Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment. But also at the same time, there were also Yoon's supporters at the rally. Compared to 2016, when we actually were there in the South Korea, we could see that quite fear or the quite intense about the conservative and the progressive actions. But we talk about this time, we could see that the pro-impeachment opposition faction is concentrated near the National Assembly, while Yoon's supporter gathered at another place. So they not really actually next to each other. Back to 2016, we could see that the two faction of pro-park and anti-park, they had some a provocation happened. This time we could see that when I interviewed the South Koreans member of the parliament, so we talk about people really sensitive to the word martial law. It's a very sensitive matter. And a lot of Korean people really afraid to hear that word. But when Yoon made the televised speech, he said that is the exercise of the high degree of control by the president through martial law that's also sent the warning, issued the warning to the opposition parties. So no matter is the ruling party or the opposition party, everyone's so sensitive to the word martial law, and no one could accept that word. And you could see the position of the two parties on the impeachment issues are very clear. The differences between the position of the two sides on the impeachment issues are also very clear. And you could see right now from our live footage, the ruling party's members, their face actually is very serious. We could see that the member sitting at the back of the parliament, Kwon Hen-dong, actually his facial expression is very serious, and he kept his head down and putting his hands on the chair, staring at the vote counting work. In the history of the South Korea, especially after the democratization, regarding the impeachment of the president, we are currently right now is looking for at the speaker. Right now, the speaker has the results of the vote. Let's hear the latest from the speaker. And now we heard that the votes number equal to the number of name tag, and it's confirmed that 300 votes were casted. So right now we could see it's in favor of impeachment or against impeachment. And we talk about this is the third in South Korea's history to be impeached. And the first person, the president, is the former President Oh Sun in 2004, because some statements were made in the election of the members of the National Assembly, and people believe it is the interference in elections. So the National Assembly, the Parliament, approved that impeachment. After 33 days of hearing, the Constitutional Court ruled that President Law's action did not violate the Constitution, and the impeachment motion initiated by the National Assembly was dismissed. And in October 2016, former President Park Geun-hye set off a huge backlash in South Korea because of her friend's interference in politics. So the second motion of impeachment was made. So we talk about back then 172 members of the opposition and also 128 members of the ruling party, and the motion of the impeachment was passed. The 62 lawmakers from the ruling party defected to Park, and who was impeached suspended from the presidency. And the final verdict was made 92 years later after the hearings. And the Constitutional Court made the final decision. Park Geun-hye left the Blue House and also faced a criminal investigation after she was ousted from the presidency. And also Park Geun-hye was also sentenced to prison for interfering in politics and transferring benefits to the consortium. I believe this time is different from the case in 2016. And we talk about this time, if you look at that, the senior public officials, the crime investigation unit, and also the criminal investigation, the different authorities all got involved to look into the case this time. According to the Constitutional Court of the South Korea, the Constitutional Court has the right to process the impeachment motion after the final results are available from the criminal case investigation. It seems that right now the ballot vote counting is almost over. From the number of the tickets, as heard the results, is show the final results. Now the results of the vote are now announced. And the South Korea's parliament passes impeachment motion against President Yoon. Once again, this is the final result: 204 in favor, and 8 votes abstention. 85 in opposition. Those 3 votes abstention. So once again, this is we heard that the loud cheers at the parliament, and once again 204 votes in favor, 85 votes against, and 3 votes abstentions. Once again, the South Korea's parliament passes impeachment motion against President Yoon, and the ruling party shows that 12 PMs were defected. So the final results: 204 votes in favor, 85 votes against, 3 votes abstentions. South Korea's parliament passes impeachment motion against President Yoon. And the next step will be waiting for the final approval. And we talk about once the result of the vote reach and confirmed, we talk about that the presidency will be stopped and the prime minister will be the acting president. And the speaker is saying that there will be a quick coordinator and will let the judges to enter to the constitutional court. And we have around 9 constitutional judges, and these 9 judges will make the final decision on the impeachment motion. We talk about this is also reflect the hope of the people in South Korea. This also show that very strong desire of the people that conclude at the parliament meeting. So this is the adjournment of the meeting, and just now we heard that the vote has ended and the motion of impeachment was passed with 204 votes in favor, 85 against, and the 3 abstentions. And then that the choice of the decision of the impeachment motion will send to the president's office. So just now you just saw the live broadcast from the South Korea's parliament. Once again, we saw the final results of the impeachment motion. So once again, we just heard live the South Korea's parliament passed its impeachment motion against President Yoon with 204 votes in favor, passing the 200 votes benchmark, the threshold. And after Roh Moo-hyun and Park Geun-hye, and the President Yoon is the 3rd president facing the impeachment.
Historic vote in a very orderly fashion that President Yoon Suk-yeol, I'm reporting here that the impeachment bill has passed, and he is now going to step down authority temporarily for the moment.
And Shane, just also talk to us a little bit about how this whole crisis has affected South Korea's reputation. I mean, a lot of allies, looking closely at the turn of events there, hoping that South Korea will regain political stability.
Absolutely. South Korea, in addition to the political divisiveness, you have, of course, an economy that's struggling with growth. You have an incoming Trump administration that, with trade, South Korea very heavily dependent on trade, preparing for a Trump administration to come in. And, of course, the geopolitical situations with security, the DPRK. These are all issues that are very close to the South Korean electorate, but with the power vacuum here in terms of the leadership, this is very troubling. But in terms of economic-wise, financial authorities have tried to quell any sort of worries for investors, saying that South Korea is still a safe haven and a steady market to invest in. But politically speaking, what comes next? Of course, we're still going to see the divisiveness in politics in terms of the conservatives and the liberals here, but this is one step forward into moving forward from that martial law order that we all saw unfold in front of our eyes. And what happens next is going to be truly just remains to be seen what's going to happen next.
Absolutely, we'll be watching closely. Shane, thank you so much for updating us. Shane Harm in Seoul there. Now, to talk more about this, let's bring in our guest, Rong Ying, who is chair professor at Sichuan University. Professor Rong, thank you so much for joining us. So we just heard there, a big momentous decision there by South Korean lawmakers impeaching President Yoon Suk-yeol. Was this within your expectations?
Yeah, I think this adoption of the sort of motion is certainly very much expected, because I think obviously the development, the overall situation is being very much developed to the extent that the ruling party is not being able to hold the kind of a united sort of a position, and the opposition parties not only, I think, capitalize on that, but more importantly, I think the pressure from the public, in other words, the voices outside the parliament hall is also growing. So this resolution, this motion, the adoption of the motion is largely expected. And now the question is, of course, what would come next? All in all, I think the Korean politics now, this episode of the drama is entered the second sort of a season or second phase, where we are going to see more uncertainties, but with some certainties which I think there are going to be a new president, possibly a sitting president by the prime minister, and then the constitutional rulings, and then followed by elections in the months ahead.
Professor Rong, the ruling party did sway a lot on this. I mean, with the first vote, clearly they were still, they opposed this motion in the hopes of clinging to power. And then right before this vote, party leader declared his support, but then the party still seemed to maintain this decision to oppose the vote. So what do you think happened here? Is it really just public pressure that led them to change their stance?
Certainly, there are more sort of factors, I think, for that change of the positions, which of the some of these the lawmakers, the ruling party, who supported the motion. This is largely because I think the momentum is changing. I think quite a lot of ruling party lawmakers, particularly I think those who voted for the impeachment, strongly feel that they don't want to be on the side of President Yoon, which of course is more or less, I think, for them has been finished, the political career. More importantly, I think as the approach that the ruling party adopted the first time by asking, asking all the lawmakers to boycott, to not vote for, attend the voting, certainly has been backfired. And so if that position is not maintained, or that approach is not taken, even though they, literally they hold the same position of continuous supporting, President Yoon, I think they are not able it's not working. So this is also, I think, would have implications in the future calculations of these individual lawmakers, particularly those who voted for the motion, because there will be, I think, as it develops, there will be more and more ruling party members who strongly feel that they need to take the right side of this game for their own sort of interest, and certainly, hopefully, for the interest of the public.
And you described this as entering now the second phase, the second chapter of the drama in South Korea. So what will happen next? I mean, President Yoon, he's a prosecutor himself. He's familiar with the law. You know, is he likely to challenge this? What could happen if he does?
Yeah, literally, of course, he could. I think there are ways to challenge that. But I think, according to the Constitution, according to the constitutional arrangement, that can only happen within the context of the Constitutional Court, in which the judges would make the decision or to review this vote. And so the game would be to compete. For the support of these judges, and I think, I don't know whether they have been sorted out this problem, because for the Constitution Court to review this motion and this vote, it would have to at least have more than 6 judges. So so far, what I learned is that there are only 6. So they have to be more than 6, so 7. So the appointment of the new judges who would be sitting for the Constitutional Court to take the review is going to be the next sort of arena or next issue for contention. But I don't see there's a big room or big possibility for President Yoon to sort of to take legal actions or whatever actions to charge against that. What he can do is pray, and more importantly, hopefully, I think his future, will not be subject to criminal prosecutions, because there are a lot of allegations and a lot of special sort of probe investigation will be taken related to not only the abuse of power, constitutions and others, but there are also legal and possibly, I think, criminal investigations related to him and his family members.
Absolutely, a lot's hanging in the balance for President Yoon. Professor Rong, thank you so much for giving us your analysis and insights. Appreciate it. Rong Ying, Chair Professor at Sichuan University. And of course, this is a developing situation, so we will be watching closely. Well, our reporter Jack Barton takes a look now at Yoon's controversial presidency, which led up to this current political turmoil.
A former South Korean prosecutor general with no political experience. Yoon Suk-yeol ran for president, pledging to fight corruption and economic inequality and to take a tougher stance on the DPRK. He won the top job in 2022 with the narrowest margin in the country's history. During Yoon's conservative rule, Pyongyang has made unprecedented advances with its weapons programs, including new ballistic missiles that can reach the United States and fast tactical missiles designed to defeat defense systems. With a reputation for being aloof, Yoon's presidency has been marred by controversies, including meddling in investigations and trying to stifle the media. In 2022, Yoon was caught cursing on a microphone after a meeting with US President Joe Biden. Yoon's wife has also been at the center of scandals, including her acceptance of an expensive handbag as a gift and allegations that she manipulated stocks. Yoon's presidency has been marked by countless demonstrations calling for him to stand down. And even before martial law was declared, his popularity rating was only around 17%. A public backlash saw the opposition Democratic Party win an overwhelming majority in the National Assembly earlier this year during midterm elections.
He tried to put on a martial law in an attempt to troubleshoot all this political difficulty.
Yoon is credited with rebuilding economic and security ties with Japan, which were at a post-war low when he came to office. However, Yoon's presidency will no doubt be remembered most for the introduction of martial law that briefly plunged South Korea back into the dark days of dictatorship. Jack